Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to the December 9th edition of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, is logging in as we speak, and her face will be on in a moment. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week, and we have an exciting show. At the top of the show, we like to say that our second guest for tonight, Brandon Massey, had a family emergency and he had to cancel. So we're going to rebook him for sometime in January, and we hope that his family emergency is resolved in a positive way and in short order. So, Rhonda, how have you been, and how was your week? You got your white on. You look like you went to church or a meeting.
Went to work.
Oh, okay. That counts too. After all, we do have to work. It would be great if we didn't. Well, if we could only do this show and that was all we had to do. That would be wonderful.
Goodness, that would be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Maybe that can be on our bucket list. Anyway, so just a couple of housekeeping notes before we bring on our first guest. Because our second guest won't be on, we're going to be giving away 3 books tonight, and we're going to be talking about Rhonda's Black History Month event coming up in February and some other things. So, but first, we're going to be bringing on Angela Flournoy, and this is her first time on Black Authors Matter TV. So we welcome her to the show to discuss her work, and there she is. So, Angela, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Hi, very happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you.
Now, you have your newest book is called The Wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And it is right behind you. Do you have, are you able to put that copy like at the screen so everybody can see it?
Sure.
And it's a hardcover, it looks like.
Yes.
Okay. And this book was named one of the top 10 best books by the Washington Post.
Very nice.
For the year. And also got some other best book nominations or what do I want to say? Announcements for best book by other entities. So that's always good publicity that gets the word out in a positive way, and at least makes people look at the list. And then, a lot of people look at lists. I look at lists. That doesn't mean I'm going to buy the book, but at least I want to know what books people are talking about.
I like to see what's out there. And sometimes it does mean I'll buy the book. I like to see what's out there. I like to see what everybody else is reading, and often that captures my attention. I mean, I think that by reading President Obama's reading list, that turned me on to some authors that I hadn't known about in the past, and it made me want to read a couple of the books.
Okay. And that bookstore I think it's in Atlanta, that she was on the show, 54th and 3rd or whatever, 44th and something booksellers. They sell the books that he puts on his list.
Mm.
So that's their whole their whole reason for starting their store. So at any rate, Angela, now tell us what The Wilderness is all about.
So The Wilderness is a novel about friendship at its core. It follows a group of 4 Black women friends from their 20s into their 40s. And it's what I call a real coming of age story. A lot of coming of age stories that we're used to are about, going from being a child to being a young adult, leaving your parents' house.
Right.
But I feel that coming into middle age, there are just a lot fewer handbooks, to figure out how you're supposed to do it. And I thought about my own friend group that I had since college and what it might take for us to stay in each other's lives and how we might support us as our lives changed as we became parents or as we lost parents, as our careers changed or maybe didn't pan out. And so this novel is about that time period coming into what I consider to be like a for real adult. And it's also is set in mostly in New York and Los Angeles. And it begins in 2008 and it goes a little bit into the future, into 2028. So I also consider it a book about the last 20 years of American life.
Okay. Well, going through those years from the 20s to the 40s, you have different groups of friends, and some of them stay with you through that time. You meet new people, and then some of them stay for a period of time. So a lot of times our friends are just based on what we're going through, or sometimes it's the workplace, workplace friendships where they start, or personal interests.
Well, I think it's a bless. We talk a lot about friends that we've had from childhood, but I think it's a blessing when, as an adult, you've had a friend for 20, 30, 40 years. Because I think sometimes as adults, we're more apt to say, I'm going to walk away from this friendship. We don't know how to do that when we're teenagers or when we're kids, but as adults, we walk away from friendships, or we let life start lifing. And I have some friends who are still great friends to this day, but I have not talked to them in years because life is lifing. But
Hmm.
then when we get on the phone, we talk to each other like no time has passed. But when you have that friend who's been a constant in your life for years, I think that there's a value to that. So this sounds like a book that I'd be interested in reading.
Well, I hope so. I think that one of the things that really made me want to write this book is that my mother had a friend, but she met in middle school. My mother passed away a couple years ago, and her best friend, I grew up calling my auntie Alicia. And it wasn't really until I was, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9, I realized that it wasn't actually, my biological auntie, but that's how close they were. And I can't imagine, I feel like my life would be impoverished if I did not grow up with this additional auntie figure in my life. And I really wanted to think about how their friendship, they were friends until my mother passed away, so for 51 years, how they were able to navigate that. Like, of course, they had falling outs, but they had decided that they were basically chosen family. Like, these are people that you decide you want to have in your life.
Yeah.
You're not obligated to, nobody's making you. They're not going to be at the family reunion. So if you don't call, it's going to be fine. But they made that choice. And to me, I know especially a lot of Black women, older Black women in my life had similar friends like that. And sometimes also it can be what you need, somebody who did not grow up exactly the same as you, who can sometimes see outside of dynamics that you take for granted, or who can just be another set of ears for your kids to confide in. And I think that for my generation, particularly, so many of us are growing up and starting families, not necessarily in the cities we grew up in. And we are not, or some of us are not even starting families, but we're getting older and we're starting to think, what's going to make me feel rooted to this place? And friendship is one of those things that people are starting to think, oh, I have to take this more seriously. I can't just be like, this is a placeholder until I get a man and get a family. This is something that has to sustain me. And that's kind of what I wanted to think about in this novel.
Are your friends in different stages of relationship?
Oh,
Like in the four friends, not your friends, I'm sorry,
uh-huh.
the friends in the book. Are they
Yes. So
okay?
there are friends, there are people who are like partnered but not married. There are people who are married. There are people not sure if they need to be married any longer. Perhaps they need to separate from somebody. And all of these people, it's one of the things that makes like a challenge for the relationship. I mean, for their friendship, not only the ways that they connect with one another because of where they are as far as in their romantic lives, but also another thing that's different is that so the four main characters, their names are Desiree, Monique, Nakia, and January, and I purposefully tried to make them because this mirrors real life. Like you'll have a moment where you have a big sort of career breakthrough. That's not necessarily going to line up with the moment that your friend has a big career breakthrough. So I also tried to make them be at different stages of just like professional life as well as romantic life, because it's something you have to not navigate. And when you talk about maintaining friendships, you have to figure out, okay, well, if I suddenly have all this money and she's where I was maybe a couple years ago, how do we still relate? How do we still figure out how to be in each other's lives? How do we deal with resentment? And those are the things that come up in the book.
That's big. That's huge. When you have a friend who has been that friend for a long time, but they're not in that stage of life in that you may have been at one time.
Hmm.
And in some cases, is that person holding you back or are they lifting you up? And I think that goes back to what I was saying before. Is this a friendship that you're walking away from? And I think often as adults, we do sometimes walk away from a relationship when we feel like, okay, this isn't serving us anymore, or this person isn't at my stage of life anymore. And
Hmm.
but sometimes you don't want to do that because this is a real true friend.
Right. And then sometimes, you can find yourself in another stage of life and you realize, none of these people are connecting with me like that person before did. And so
Yes,
Mhm.
is
yes.
something I wanted to think about is how is it that some people stick you just stick around each other even if on paper it seems like maybe things have diverged, but there's something that still puts holds you together. Whereas other people, of course, we all sort of friendships run their course. Some are supposed to be for life, some are supposed to be for just a period of life.
Mm. Now, social media has, with all of its faults, and there are many, but it does allow us to stay connected to, even if it's you know, at a distance, but we are able to stay connected with people that we grew up with, or people that were at different stages of our lives, and we're able to still share in things that are happening to them. Um, you know, Moves they make, vacations they take, anniversaries, birthdays. We're still able to at least reach out, which before that it was a lot more difficult to do. Um, you could send a birthday card, but now you do send the birthday greeting on wherever you are, social media, Facebook,
Mhm.
or I don't know if they do birthdays on TikTok, but Instagram or Facebook,
Mhm.
uh, we're able to do that, even if we're not like close, like we hang out. You can still have warm thoughts about a person, even when you don't see them physically very often.
I try to have these friends. They're often in the same place and the same time when we see them in the novel. But I had to deal with the reality of the fact that sometimes you're not living in the same city, which is why it kind of goes back and forth between the two cities. And I also had to deal with the fact that the secondary thing that happens with social media is that we get a lot of messaging about what we're supposed to be doing with our lives, whether that is, oh, you see this friend is taking vacation. Well, when's the last
Yeah.
time I went on a vacation? My vacation didn't look as cute as their vacation. You get
So the competitive side of it,
absolutely.
or they're just measuring your progress
And you
against
feel
someone
yourself
else.
performing sometimes, right? So you find
Mhm.
yourself in the space like, let me only show this aspect of my life or another aspect of my life. There's a character, one of my characters, Monique, she begins the book as a librarian and then she has a moment of like small virality and she decides, I kind of like going viral. I think I want to do it again. But she decides she kind of wants to be an influencer. And when this first begins, it's a period of time where her friends, they don't think this is a real way to make money. But of course, fast forward to now, and a lot of people make a lot of money doing that, right? And the ways, but also it changes the people who really know you versus all of the thousands, the tens of thousands of people who believe they know her and admire this one side of her on the internet, it's hard for people who knew you before that to be like, well, where do I fit in when I feel like I don't necessarily look the part or behave the way that like you're presenting your life to the internet. And I think that that happens, interestingly, I think that happens actually now, like at every sort of in every age group. There are just people who are a lot more aware of how they're presenting themselves on social media than other people.
With the younger people, and I'll include my daughter in that group. And this started when she was in college. Um, and I'm sure it may be even more intense now for people, not for her age group. She's 29 now. But there was always a comparison. And I didn't even know this was really happening until I read an article or saw something on the news about how teenagers compare how many likes their picture got or how many comments or how it looked or did they talk about it at school,
Mhm.
and they compare themselves to other people in that way. And uh, I would tell her, look, those are not your friends. Those the 1,000 people that clicked, they're not your friends.
Mhm.
They're people that don't even know you.
Right.
So
We
don't,
hope they're all people. Some of
yeah.
them might just be bots,
Some of them
right?
might be, well, that's another issue. So don't get caught up in those. You don't know those people. It's the people who are around you, who love you, who care about you, who actually know you. That's who you should be taking your cues from. And but I know it's difficult whenever it's one of those things every generation has. Well, everybody's doing it. Now that everybody's doing it is on social media. So whatever aspect that is now for teenagers, and the AI part is a whole nother conversation. So, but uh, just the whole idea of friendship over an extended period of time. That's a good
Well,
topic.
your book seems is almost like a study in social sciences almost. I mean, I'm one I'm wondering what type of preparation do you do to write a book like this? Because it seems to be like almost a deep dive in the study of friendship and human behavior. And it just doesn't seem like the type of book you write by the seat of your pants.
Oh, thank you. I think that well, it was 10 years between when my first novel, The Turner House, came out and when this novel was published in September. I did not only work on this novel, but part of the reason it took so long is because I had the idea in 2016 of what I wanted this book to be, but I think I was quite frankly a little too young to really understand the sort of particular challenges that might come up for women as they just get older and especially as they try to maintain friendships. A lot of the research that I did, because the book does project a little bit into imagining what life will be like in the country in a few years, was just thinking about because I wanted to do that, I knew I wanted to do that in early 2016. And then in the fall of 2016, there was a big sort of political change that I had not predicted. And so there was a period of time where I was like, well, maybe I can't talk about what the future of the country is going to be look like because I don't know. And then I realized the more that I thought and read about some of the things that led us to that election in 2016, I thought about broader trends that are bigger than who's in office, like the way that, again, social media is influencing how we think about ourselves, how we feel isolated or connected to people, trends like people getting their news from non-traditional sources and how that could be good or that could be bad because people just are living in completely different realities from one another, right? And the more that I thought about those trends and also trends about like where Black people are living and, the amount of Black people in the first 2.5 decades of this century who were products of Great Migration and lived in the northern cities who have moved back south and how that affects how those cities in the north feel. So I did a lot of research about those kinds of trends. But the thing about when you're trying to write the kind of fiction that I do is that you try to wear all that lightly, right? Like you research all those things, but then you really want it to be about characters. You want your reader to just be pulled in because these people feel real and the situations that I put them in are ones that feel compelling. Um, but those are also the things that are in the background, those other things that I'm thinking about like trends, about the changes over the last 20 years, about just like in every kind of aspect of life are like in the sort of, they're like in the, yeah, they're making the background, but in the foreground is just how do these women navigate getting into middle age?
Right. The things that are happening in the in culture and environment, that's almost like a character in itself. If you when you're writing a book about 20 years,
Hmm.
it's almost technology is the biggest change that has occurred over the last 20, but also just the way people communicate, well, which is rooted in the technology. um, the way people date and meet
Yeah.
people that they're going to date, or not even get together on a date. They just kind of do the preliminary stuff online, and then the date,
Yeah.
it may end up in a date or it may not. So,
Right.
so,
And that's
so
absolutely something that changes over the course of the book is how, but the interesting thing I'll say is that it seems like all of it has to do with the technology, but some of it, there's just other kinds of thought that we've been exposed to because of social media, like ideas we maybe wouldn't even come across. So there are ways that people interact with each other. Like for instance, I'm sure we've all seen, those little text box, I don't know what to call them, like textgrams, but they'll say something that it feels like wisdom, but you don't even know who wrote it, and people will share it, those little text memes, and it'll be
memes.
like,
Mm-hmm.
everyone might be in your life for just a season and there's just a reason. And you're like, where did this come from? And there are things though, they kind of, you absorb them. Whether if it feels like it makes sense to you, then it's something you absorb. And then you might find yourself in real life talking to someone and you say one of these things that you got from, you don't even remember where you got it from. And I think there didn't used to be so many inputs. Like maybe it would be you got
Right.
something from church or just your friends at work. But now there are so many different inputs that it's hard to even track necessarily where you got some of the messages from.
That's true. A lot of it's fleeting too.
Hmm.
It's like, what was the word, the phrase today, and then tomorrow or the next day there'll be a different one. And so it's fast, it's coming fast and leaving fast. It's
Hmm.
the rapidity can be sometimes mind-blowing. Sometimes you just have to take a step back. It's probably a good reason why people are now talking about disconnecting from, putting down your phone, putting down the screens, getting off social media, doing a fast, so to speak, just to get your bearings back.
I'm
Because
curious actually about the title because I can
well,
see
you took my question.
oh sorry.
That's
Well, I mean,
okay.
'cause I can see all of this being a part of the wilderness,
Mhm.
navigating social media, navigating friendships, getting older. I can see all of this being part of a wilderness experience.
Absolutely. So that is really what the title is trying to get at, the idea of, as I mentioned before, that there are a couple of, clear paths to figure out how to get out of adolescence, right? Like how to leave your parents' home if that's your goal, or just sort of feel like you've progressed since high school. I think that our culture has, at this point, we've spent a lot of like cultural time depicting it, but we also have a lot of like nuts and bolts pathways, even though because of hormones or whatever, it can feel like I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. There are some paths, right? And the stakes are low generally, because for most people, they only have to take care of themselves. But then as you get older, the goal isn't necessarily just to like have a roof over your head, but it's to feel like a grown up, right? To feel like, and maybe you never do, but like to feel settled in your life, I think is probably more uh, of a universal goal than feeling like a grown up. Because I know I have aunties twice my age who are like, I don't feel like a grown up still. But they certainly feel settled in their life after a certain point. And that is something that it can be, you have to navigate it yourself, right? Like you are in the wilderness of your own life. Nobody else is in it. You're in it, right? And you can have some fellow travelers, which is what this book is about, but the path you take is your own. So that is my thinking with the title, The Wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, as we go through life too, we're also measuring ourselves by what we set for ourselves, like the
Mm.
goal that we set for ourselves that we thought we would be when we turned a certain age. Um, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So you just never know. Sometimes, your life just takes a turn and it can be a good turn or it could be a not so good turn. But it's all learning the whole process and the entire journey is about learning. And now, how did you decide on your imagery for your cover, or how was that decided on? Can you put the book a little bit closer? Because I
Yes.
was looking at that
So
and I couldn't necessarily tell what was depicted.
So this is a collage-based painting by the artist Mickalene Thomas. Um,
Okay.
and Mickalene Thomas is very known for she often has very sort of bright and like funky colors like next to each other. But there's usually people in her paintings. Like there's often women who just seem really kind of like relaxed and reposed and often kind of majestic. And I profiled her for the New York Times in 2021. And so I was able to look at everything, or I tried to look at everything she had made to that point. And I came across these, which are very rare for her because there's no people in them. They're like a series of interiors she did in the like early 2010s. And I was really drawn to them because they have more mystery to me without somebody in them, without a person. Because when you see a face or you see a body, you see an outfit, you start to make judgments, right?
Mhm.
And without that, you certainly do. Like if this is a living room, right? But it's a very particular living room. There's only a certain kind of person or people who might spend some time hanging out in a living room like this, right? And I thought it was a
It's very
good
luxurious.
Right. Very luxurious. It's somebody who's got like a very bold point of view, right, about their
Yes.
space. But I thought it was something that would feel welcoming, like you could imagine all four, like a group of girlfriends hanging out in here, like a place where they spend a lot of like bonding time, but it might also be a space where they have to sort of pick each other up, like if something happens in one of their lives. And that was really exciting to me. I also just really liked the colors. I wanted something that felt sophisticated but also inviting. And Mickalene was generous enough to let me use this artwork. And I've had really positive feedback about it. A lot of readers really, really love it, as do I. Yeah.
Okay. Um, in the time we have left, can you tell us about the Turner House, which um, that was a National Book Award finalist, and that was the Turner House your first novel or the
Yes.
first breakthrough novel?
This is the Turner House. So the Turner House came out in 2015. It used to have different covers, but this is its 10-year anniversary cover, which this art is by a Detroit artist named Tyree Guyton. The Turner House is set in Detroit and it follows the present day of the story is in 2008, but it follows a large family. There are 13 adult siblings and they live on the east side or they were raised on the east side of Detroit. And it's a story of the house that they grew up in but also about the prior 60 years of their relationship to the city of Detroit and the city of Detroit, like overall. So when we
Okay.
meet them, their house, as was the case of many houses in 2008 around the country, but particularly in Detroit, is underwater, meaning they owe more to the bank than the house is worth, and they have some tough decisions to make because of that. But it's also a like an intergenerational story and a great migration story. Um,
Okay.
I'm really honored that new readers have still been finding this book a decade later.
Now, you have three settings. You've mentioned Detroit, New York, LA. What's home for you?
I am from Los Angeles. I currently live in New York. I've lived in New York most of my life since college. And my dad is the fifth of 13 children. He is from Detroit.
Wow, 13 children.
hmm
Wow.
That must be one family reunion. I like that.
Very big, very big.
Well, Angela, thank you for being a guest on the show. Congratulations on your success. Your books both sound very inviting in terms of the characters and the storylines and the historical part, with the Turner House especially. I love history. And so I like contemporary stories too, but I really love history woven into a story, or just a story that's totally historical, the setting, the people, the everything. I just like being connected to previous generations. So thank you so much for being on the show, and continued success. Do you have another book you're working on?
I do have another book. I am not prepared to talk about it, but it is due in the spring, so I got to get it together to talk about soon.
Okay, so
Hopefully
we'll
I can
just
come
be on the
back.
lookout for it.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, have a great night.
You too. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, well, as we mentioned, Brandon Massey isn't able to come on, so our next guest is going to be at the 8 o'clock hour. Well, 9 o'clock for those on the East Coast. Um, it will be. So, in
9
the
o'clock.
time, including Rhonda. So, at the time, for the interim time, we have several things we're going to be doing. I have a couple of announcements. Rhonda's going to talk about her Black History program that's coming up in February, and it's the 10th anniversary of it. And we're going to be giving away 3 books during this time period. So we, first of all, if you all have been following us on our social media for the National Black Book Festival, on our Facebook and Instagram pages, we've been posting photos from this year's event for the past month, at least month, yeah, past month. And we had over 700 photos that our photographer took. I'm still going through photos, Rhonda.
It's a lot. I mean, you
It's
posted
a
a lot.
lot of photos because I have to identify who's in the photos, and they're not always in succession, like in perfect succession. So, but the photos came out really good. He's really a good photographer. He's done our 3 years worth. He wasn't able to do it last year because he had a death in the family. But he's his name is Cedric. He's young. He's like in his early 30s. He's really good at capturing every author that's there, their work, um, action shots. There's people, what people are doing, attendees, and then he did a really nice reel for us. The people who are part of the team, their photos are probably going to be posted last, just because I keep running across more. Every time I think I have one for everybody's photos, then I run across another one. So they're probably going to be last. But I have posted some with you in it, interviewing. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah,
it.
I saw a couple of those and I need to share them. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've kind of slowed down on my social media game. I have been super, super, super duper busy. So I'm coming back strong in about a week. Give me a week.
I get it. Because some of mine is late at night and it's scheduled. You might think
Yeah.
I'm posting in the daytime, but it's really 1 a.m. and I'm scheduled for the next day. So I have to do it like that. But really nice pictures. So if you haven't had a chance to go and take a look, and not only look at the pictures, but check out the authors, because all the pictures we posted has a link to the authors' websites or social media and their work. So check them all out and support them. The second thing for the National Black Book Festival for 2026 The dates are October 22nd through the 24th. And because we've had so much interest, we're opening our registration, our author vendor registration, a little bit earlier. So our registration actually will open on December 15th. Normally we open on January 1st, but we're going to open on December 15th. So people can start signing up then if they like. And that way they don't have to worry about when we sell out, which we always do. So that's something else about the festival. So now I'm going to have Rhonda take it away and talk about her Black History Month event, which is what do you call it?
The Black History Month Literary Weekend.
Okay, all right, that's right. Okay, and this is the 10th anniversary.
Yes,
and so just tell people what's in store, and it's going to be in New Orleans.
I'm catching up with you, Gwen. I'm catching up with you.
You mean in terms of and this is year 19 for the festival, but
I'm gonna catch up with you.
Okay, you eventually get to 19, you're gonna keep going. Okay.
But as soon as you take a break, I got you.
Okay, well, when I take a break, it'll be permanent. I'm just letting you know. The break, when it's done, it's done. When I don't know what number that is, but when it's done, it'll be finished. As they say.
I understand. I understand. But the Black History Month Literary Weekend, oh my goodness, I cannot believe it has been 10 years. This was actually the very first, well, the second event that I planned under my company, Meet the World Image Solutions. So I did my very first event in February 2017. And now in February 2026 will be 10 years, and I'm taking it right back to New Orleans. So as many people know, the last event that I did in New Orleans was in 2020, and COVID happened. And I moved to the DC area a few months after that event. So I took the entire event to DC with me. So in 2021, I did a totally virtual event. It was a 6-hour virtual event. And believe it or not, people actually stayed on for the full 6 hours. I was shocked. But it was fun. It was fun. And we had live performances and everything. Okay. And then in 22, I did a scaled back version of the weekend. Instead of doing a full blown weekend, I did kind of a happy hour. But then in 2023, I brought it all the way back. We had a great time. In 24, we had another great time. In 25, we had another great time. But I said, okay, in 26, this is going to be our 10th year. I need to take it back to where it all began. So, and this year, I'm taking it back to New Orleans. This year, we'll be featuring 14 authors. Some of the authors are people who have been rocking with the Black History Month Literary Weekend since the very beginning. People like Diana Riley. She's been with us since the she's never missed a literary weekend since the very beginning. And then we have some brand new people like Michelle Roney. She's never worked with me before, but she heard about the event and she wants to be a part of it. Some of the people I've met through the National Black Book Festival who met me and they wanted to be a part of the movement. So I was very happy about that. So we have 14 authors. It's going to be 3 days, February 19th through the 21st. On the 19th, we'll be having a meet and greet. On the 20th, we're going to do a free writers workshop that's open to the public. It's going to take place at the Algiers Public Library. And then we'll have a book signing at Barnes and Noble. And then later that night, we'll have a comedy night with the Greek Comedy Tour. And those are going to be national comedians, not just some local comedian that I pulled off the street. These are going to be some real national comedians. We're just going to have a good time, all in the name of scholarship. And then on the 21st, we'll have our Ivory and Cream Affair. And now at the Ivory and Cream Affair, we have a live band. Of course, we're going to have an amazing brunch. we're going to be awarding our 8th and 9th grade essay contest winners. And we've already announced the 8th and 9th grade essay contest. And normally that contest is open to people all over the country. But this year, because I'm taking it back to New Orleans and I want to be a service to our young people in New Orleans, the contest is exclusively for New Orleans students. So if you know an 8th or a 9th grader in New Orleans and you want them to be a part of this essay contest, a winner from each grade will receive $300. They will have their essays published in a national publication, and they will receive a lot of scholarship materials. And in the past, this is also where we've given them the your book. This our winners have received your book as well. We'll also be awarding our graduating senior scholarship. The graduating senior receives $1,000. So we'll be awarding that scholarship as well. Also, we'll be awarding the winners of our For the Culture Book Awards, which is our second annual contest, which is exclusively for fiction authors. Where there are a lot of contests out there, you know, for children's books, like your contest is for children's books. There's some for memoirs and so forth. This one is exclusively for fiction authors, but it's for fiction authors who uphold African American culture in their work. So that's why it's called For the Culture. Right now we have voting going on, and we have 9 authors who are participating, and you get to vote each day for your favorite author, but that's not how you choose the winner. That's only a percentage of the winner of the winner.
Okay.
So we choose the top 5 from the voting, but then that percentage goes into judging for the book. We actually read your book, and we judge based on the editing, the story quality, your book cover, how much your story actually upholds African American culture. And then we take that score and we average it with your voting score. And that's how we choose the winners. And the winners receive cash prizes. So we give away a lot of money, but we also bring in so much, and it means a lot to us that all of the authors who are part of the Black History Month Literary Weekend get to connect with people. They get to connect with students, they get to connect with readers, and they actually walk away with some book sales. So it's a very amazing weekend, full of connections, full of culture, full of fun. And if you are in the New Orleans area, or if you're looking for a vacation, this is the time to take it. So I want you to come to New Orleans. I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can find more information if you go to my website. I would love to see you there. This is going to be so fun. It's going to be amazing. I just want to see you guys there, and we're going to have a good time.
So, are you having the thing where you visit a school again this year?
Well, unfortunately, because we are visiting New Orleans during the week of Mardi Gras, we will not be able to visit school this year, because back when I was in school, you know, I'm from New Orleans. Back when I was in school, we only had 3 days off, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we went back to school on Thursday. But now the kids take the entire week off. So unfortunately, the kids will not be in school the week that we are that week will be hosting the weekend. So instead of visiting the schools, we're going to be doing the workshop instead.
Oh, okay. So the workshop replaced the school visit. Right. And then on the ending affair, the cream,
the ivory and cream,
ivory and cream. Where's that, and when is it, and what is the attire, and what's going to be happening?
Okay. First, let me back up. Okay. My special guest for the writers' workshop is going to be Brian W. Smith. He's my friend, and you know he's from New Orleans. And so he already accepted the invitation to come out. Okay. Now, for Saturday, the Ivory and Cream Affair is going to be February 21st, and it's going to be at the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club. Zulu is one of the oldest African American Mardi Gras crews in the city of New Orleans. and they basically own the block where their club is located. So it's a very historic place where the event's going to be. The attire is ivory or cream. Some people just wear plain white. It's fine, but it's a beautiful aesthetic. If you go to the website, which I put in the chat, and you go to the Black History Month Literary Weekend page, you can see some photos from last year, and you can see how just beautiful it looked. But everybody just is having fun in their ivory and their cream.
Okay, and is that in the evening?
It's a daytime event. It's a brunch. It takes
it's a brunch.
At 11 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay. All right. And then, so you're going to be giving away the scholarships or the awards at the brunch. Is that where you do the presentations?
Yes, and our guest speaker for the brunch is going to be Councilman Eugene Green. And we've also invited Lisa Aubrey. Now, Lisa Aubrey is a Louisiana native who actually moved out to Cameroon. And she actually discovered one of the largest slave trade plantations in the world called Bimbia. And she wrote a book about it. And it's a very, very powerful book. And it's a wonderful, I'm not going to say wonderful, it's a very moving site. And she's the one who helped to bring Bimbia to the forefront so more people can learn about the atrocities of slavery in that area. And so she'll be speaking on her experiences there.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope to be there. I'm not 100%.
You've been threatening to come see us.
No, but not in New Orleans. See, when in DC, that's more challenging. New Orleans is closer to me, so
and it's warmer.
Well, that too. I have to have the whole wardrobe thing going on. So I hope to come. That's my plan. So and I someone had invited me to something else in Texas. Oh, the Texas the educators, the Black school educators, they're having their state event the same.
There's always something going on the same weekend as my stuff.
Yeah, but I told them I couldn't come. They invited me. I can't come because that's the weekend when Rhonda's having her event. So I did want to, what was something else I wanted to, I wanted to let people know we've already confirmed some of our featured authors for 2026, for the 2026 National Black Book Festival. There's a flyer. If you've been on social media, it has a sneak peek on it, and these are confirmed. So we've already confirmed Tia Williams, she's written some really major books that have sold extremely well over the last few years. Mary Monroe, she's been writing books. She started with God Don't Like Ugly, and she has her latest series with Mrs. Wick, and she keeps releasing books. She's coming. Rashonda Tate has a new book coming out in January with Love from Harlem. And Monica Walters, she's a romance author. She's been blowing up the romance world with a whole bunch of books that she's done. I think she's done 100 books. Her books are country hood love stories. That's what she calls her. She's the queen of country hood love stories. And she has a bunch. I think she told me she had 100 books, but she's coming. And then you mentioned Brian W. Smith. He's coming. He hasn't been for several years as a featured author at the book festival. And we're working on a few more. So those are the ones we've confirmed so far. And we got an early start so we could confirm people before their schedules filled up. And that's what you have to do. So let's see. Right now, we are going to give away 3 books. So
let's do it.
So for the people who normally like to win books, we've got 3 this time. And so the first one is an art. Well, I think 2 of them are advanced reading copies, and the other one is the actual book. So we'll start with the advanced reading copy of Terry McMillan's latest book. It Was the Way She Said It. And here's the cover of the ARC. I'm not sure if the actual book had the same cover because sometimes they change the cover. But the trivia for this one, if you're paying attention, is what was the title of Terry McMillan's book that came out right before this one? So if you know the answer, you can look it up and put it in the chat. Rhonda's checking, and we mailed the books to the recipient. So if you never won a book, you would need to DM us your mailing address. But if you won books before, then we already have it. So that's the first book we're giving away. The next book, this book doesn't come out until March. So it's an advanced reading copy, and it's a romance. It's called The Bridge Back to You. And the author's name is, I guess it's Rhys. Let's see. Rhys Nielsen. So this is the cover. It's called The Bridge Back to You. And the trivia for this book is the author resides in what New England state? If you get the answer, where does the author Rhys Nielsen, where's her residence? Then you get a copy of this. And it's a pretty hefty book. It might be a young adult fiction because it looks like it on the inside. Normally the font size on the young adult fiction is bigger than on the regular. So, okay. So do we have a winner of either one yet?
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So nobody's won. So the last one is a book, actual book. This one's called Cutthroat. It's by Octavia Grant. And she was on the show a while back. Right after we went to the National Book Club conference, because we saw her there, but she was already booked. And then she was on the show a couple of weeks after that. So that was probably August. But this is her book, Cutthroat. It's, she's gotten a ton of publicity for it and reviews. So the trivia for this book is, what is the first and last name of the main character of Cutthroat by Octavia Grant? So that's it. And as far as books we're giving away, if you got the answer to any of the trivia questions, we will send you your copy of the book. So what we'll do now, because our guest for the next hour is already logged on, and we didn't have our Brandon Massey wasn't able to come because of a family emergency, we'll go ahead and sign Teresa Sebastian on, and since she's here already, and then we can give her a little bit more time on her interview. So Teresa has a historical fiction series, and she's been on the show before about 6 months ago talking about the first installment, and she also was at the National Black Book Festival, so we got to meet her in person. And I think didn't you interview her, Rhonda, on one of those short interviews I saw? Did you interview Teresa? No, yes, no.
You mean at the event?
At the event.
Oh, did Teresa? I interviewed you at the event, didn't I?
Yes, it was you. Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought I saw, when you were doing those lives.
Yeah.
I was the first one that you interviewed.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute. I think so. I thought you were talking about the other show. I'm like, wait a minute now.
Oh, you thought you were talking about your show that you do on Mondays. Okay. Now, well, it's so much interviewing going on. Sometimes it's hard to keep them all straight. And one thing I will say to Teresa that I said to her at the event is, and this is something that people always say to me when they meet me in person, they didn't know how short I was. So that's what I said. Teresa is about my height. And so
looking right in the eye.
Yeah, right. And I was like, wow, you look so much taller. on the video. So anyway, people tell me that all the time. They meet me from this show or wherever, that they thought I was tall. So, and I tell them I have big ideas. So yeah, I'm tall in terms of my mind is big. I have a big brain.
Gwen stands on her wallet.
I'm not mad at that one now. Not mad at that.
Just make that up because that's not. Was that like a spur of the moment statement, or had you been holding that then and it just came out? Or you already
from a comedian? Don't mind me.
Oh, okay. That's the first time I heard that. But no, I just stand. I'm like Donnie McClurkin says you just stand. I stand when things get tough. I just stand, and
That's right.
I don't let circumstances dissuade me from my mission.
Well, that definitely shows, and you've accomplished a lot, and you're doing a lot for others like me.
Yeah, your book has really, well, your series has really blown up. Have you written the third part yet?
Yes, I am. It's not 100% complete. You know the
Okay.
process.
Yes.
But yeah, it's well on its way. So the goal is to have it ready by September, to launch. And there's some events that I want it to be available for. So
Okay.
we're working hard to make that happen.
Okay. So I have my copy of the first one, the beginning, and
Thank
it's called
you.
Lost Seeds.
Right.
And tell us about what Lost Seeds, what's the hidden meaning behind the Lost Seeds, and what motivated you to write this series?
There really isn't a hidden meaning, but it's very symbolic. Is that a lot of family dysfunctions and, challenges within relationships start from generations back. There's a seed, and what is that seed? And how do we harvest that and make it more healthy over the generations? So, especially in Black families, and this can be almost any family. It's not just, related to, the Black community, but many families have issues that take place many generations back, and it tends to haunt subsequent generations. And at some point, that issue needs to be resolved. It can be addictions, it could be, relationships, it could be behaviors. It in the Black community, you may have generations that, are stuck in the social services web, single mothers that have a hard time, breaking out of that. So that's what Lost Seeds really symbolizes, is what is that issue in your family that just seems to proliferate over the generations? And how do you resolve that so that the seeds become healthy? You start sowing healthy behaviors and prosperous relationships within the family.
Yeah, in recent years, people started referring to those as generational curses. And I don't know if it's a curse or not, but there are some habits. We really are, our circumstance is a result of our habits in a lot of ways. And a lot of habits are familial. They're family habits. They, some families with finances, for an example, some families, they never really have a good credit.
Mhm.
it's that they never had a stable job, or they didn't pay their bills, or they would get some credit and then ruin it. Then they have to put it in somebody else's name and on those kinds of things.
Right.
And so, but those are based on habits. And if your example is a bad habit, so to speak, you have to intentionally change. You have to be intentional about wanting to change.
Exactly. Exactly. And, sometimes, let's be honest, depending upon a person's circumstance, they need, whether it's a mentor or, a spiritual counselor or someone to kind of show them the avenue. And the reason I say that is I work with, young people. And if they have not had a good role model, sometimes something as simple as, well, how do you get into college? You know,
Mhm.
and especially in public schools, they don't have guidance counselors the way they used to when we were young, or they don't have guidance counselors that have the time to spend with students. So sometimes it's something as simple as, I want to move forward. I want to do better. I want to get out of this, economic situation. How do I get in college? They don't know how to even, they may not know that SAT and ACT exist. So you can have the desire, but sometimes you need that help and guidance.
You need real help, and it's really a blessing if you have parents who are engaged. Not everyone does,
Right.
unfortunately. But I know with my daughter, her guidance counselor didn't. People ask me, did because I wrote the book about going to college debt free with scholarships. It was
Mhm.
all from just sheer
Wow.
work and will. It's just sheer desire, faith, work, prayer, everything. I put
Mhm.
everything into it. And she went to college totally debt free. But the guidance counselor gave her nothing in terms of scholarship
Right.
uh, advice or anything. There's no, I mean, people ask me, did you get something from the guidance counselor? No, nothing, zero, zip, nothing. So,
Mhm.
it helps to have parents if
I
you
found
can.
I, I found that I think that administrators, high school administrators, they give it to their favorites. The
Okay.
ones who hang out in their office or the ones they have a connection with, they seem to get a little bit more than the ones who actually probably need the help.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so you do have to have a parent who's a little bit more engaged
engaged.
in
They have
order
to.
for the child to get what they actually need.
Right.
And some people get lucky with mentors, or there's somebody in their life that just, a teacher maybe that takes a liking to them. But it really, parents, that's where it is. And that's when I do my book every year, and I've been doing it for 10 years, even though my daughter's been out of school. But I just wanted people to have the information, because most people, they don't know where to start. They have no idea. And I didn't know where to start. So my book is from the vantage point of, I had no idea where to start. And I give people all the information that I found along the way. That really, the other books that you see out here about that, they're not written by people who actually did it.
I just
You
pray
know.
that the parents who are getting this book are actually using the book. And it's
Yes.
not just becoming decoration on, well, you can't see my bookshelf behind me, but there's a bookshelf right here, and there's another one right
Hmm. Hmm.
Have one on this side.
here.
And unless yours is yours looks actual, Teresa, it doesn't look like what do you call it, a screenshot or whatever.
No, no, no,
That's
it's not. It's
actual
not.
books behind you.
Those are
Teresa said, "Don't."
actual books.
Teresa said, "Don't play with her. These are real books."
These are real books.
But some people have that screen behind them where it looks real.
No, this is my office. This is
Okay.
where a lot of stuff happens in terms of whether it's writing, whether it's doing my other work. This is where I spend most of my day.
Okay.
And
Oh,
I even have my workout equipment over there.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it because I'm sitting at the desk that I use all the time. Well, I have an office too that I go to, but I
Hmm.
do more work at home actually than I
Yeah,
because I at home I can work like anytime. If I have an idea at midnight, I can get on my laptop
there
and
you
work on
go.
it. So now you have a background in finance.
Yes.
So tell us about how you got from and you're an attorney. That's
Yes.
a lot of education and work.
Wait, finance, you're an
Yeah.
attorney
Mhm.
and an
And
author.
an author of a historical fiction book. Those
Hey,
things
listen,
are
this lady just wants a bag every once in a while. I know, and that's why I like you guys, because I know,
I get it. I just want a bag every once in a while. I love, I might have to put that on my Facebook later. I just want a bag every once in a while.
yeah. Now I'm not a purse person, but I love
I
clothes.
don't think that's the
So,
bag she wanted.
No,
She's
no.
talking about.
oh, okay. I
She's
missed
talking
it.
about securing the bag.
Oh, okay. All right. I missed that. I thought you were talking about purses because
We
some
see,
people
we got
can
that.
spend a lot of money on a purse.
No, 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 no. But I went into finance because I have some older sisters who I was the youngest of four girls.
Okay.
And I would do little chores and save my money, and every once in a while they would ask to borrow it. And I would say, okay, you can, but I need to get back more than I'm giving you. And I didn't know what the concept of interest was about. I just knew that, it made sense if I'm going to loan some money out, I need to get a little more back. And so I was just always interested in the concept of, whether it was business or anything of that sort, investments. And so when I went to school, the interest just grew, the interest in doing business. So I started off in urban planning and realized that wasn't going to really nurture that interest that I have. So I went and I got my master's in business and focused
Mm.
on finance and worked for what is now known as Bank of America. It had a different name back then. And I was in their mergers and acquisitions department. So I analyzed where they would place new branches or acquire, other banks. And then I went from that to be a
Mhm.
stockbroker. And then I went from that to be a financial analyst, which is at a company now called Morgan Stanley. And I was a stockbroker there. And the long and short of it is I just kept, I stayed in the finance industry for a long time doing capital markets deals, which is issuing stocks and bonds for large companies in Wall Street and all of that. And then I worked with lawyers so much, somebody told me I need to go to law school. So I went to law school. And at that time, years ago, was one of a few Black females that, dealt in Fortune 500 types of mergers and acquisitions. Um, and I, moved up the corporate ladder from that to be an executive at a Fortune 500 company and worked under one of the few Black CEOs of Fortune 500 companies.
So was it Amex?
No, not Amex. It was Darden Restaurants, which owned Olive Garden, Capitol Grill, Seasons 52, Red Lobster at that time. They
Okay.
owned. And so
I didn't know that
Me
was
either.
a black CEO.
at that time, not anymore, because
Okay.
Okay. But I
yes,
didn't know that it ever was. So that was one of
yes,
the ones that didn't get a
for
lot of.
For
for
a
real.
long time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and I was there for about 5, 6 years. And then I went off to do my own thing. And now I serve on several corporate boards, Fortune 500 boards. And that's what I do now.
Hmm.
I'm a,
Now, that's interesting how the seed, and this, we're talking about lost seeds, but things that we are having affinity towards really do show up in
Mhm.
childhood. They
Mm-hmm.
really do.
Yeah.
Uh, and if they get nurtured in some way and not stunted, you know, they can really help us throughout life. So it
And what I
sounds.
really think it's important for parents to do is recognize those seeds of talent. Because if you don't recognize those seeds of talent and encourage them and speak into your child very positive, aspirational things, a child can become either reluctant or lost or not encouraged. You've really got to encourage those talents. Both of my children, I was able to recognize what really impassioned them, what really motivated them and made them feel purposeful. And just like my parents did, I encouraged it. And they both are, pursuing the careers that they feel very suited for and successful in. And although I had different thoughts, I expressed them very kindly, but I never made them feel pressured
Yeah.
to go into anything that I thought they should do
I
because
think, yeah, I think that I was actually talking about this last night. I think that's a mistake that we parents make sometimes is that we want our kids to read. We want our kids to do whatever we see as success, but
Mhm.
we don't always match that up with their interests.
Right.
And if if we were to match that up with their interests, they may go far. I remember my sister was always concerned that her son played a lot of video games.
Mhm.
But I tried to reframe her thinking with video games because there are people who play video games who make millions of dollars. They do their thing or they become computer geniuses.
Yes.
So maybe his um if his interest is in computers and in gaming, maybe that's what he can pursue and maybe that's what's going to gain his interest. With my daughter, it was the arts.
Mhm.
She was into theater and acting. That's what kept her interest in school. And that's what helped her to pursue her education. That's what she wanted to do when she went to college.
Right.
And even though she's not pursuing being an actress now, it's what kept her interest
Yeah.
in college. And those skills that she learned in theater, she took those skills and she transferred them into how she goes into interviews. And
Mm.
she's never walked into a job interview where she didn't walk out with the job
Wow.
because of what she gained from her theater skills. So I think that
Exactly.
when we match our kids' interests up with what we want them to do, and we bring those two things together, great things can happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the best thing we can do, as I said, is speak words of affirmation, make them feel very,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
very comfortable with themselves and very strong with themselves and the outside world, and then just release them to find, okay, what's your purpose? What motivates you? What makes you happy with life? Because as parents, we're not going to be around, to
Forever.
guide them all the time or to create a happy home. They've got to launch and make their own happy home. And if they aren't happy people, their home isn't going to be happy. So we've got to let them find who they are at the end of the day.
Right. And you're so right about the seeds. I forgot, I was talking to somebody recently too, just about when you plant a seed in a child, it grows.
Yes.
It's different than an adult because adults, the ground that you plant an adult, it might be bricked over, it might
That's
it might
right.
have had a drought. A child's mind and spirit are much more pliable.
Mhm.
And that's why it's important for us to speak positively, give them encouragement and not say, when you tell a child you're never going to be anything, that's,
Oh, they take that
that,
to heart. And they
oh,
really believe if
they
I'm never,
do.
They
yeah,
And
if
it
do.
you think
stays
I'm
with
never
them
going to
for
be
life.
anything, I'm never going to be anything.
It can
Right.
stay with them for life. A lot of people in prison were told you're never going to be anything. And just
Hmm.
imagine if they had been told they could be something. They
Well,
could be
and
whatever they
that's
imagine.
yeah, and that's the heart of the first book, Lost Seeds, the beginning, is because you have those two brothers, and there's the one who was never felt valued, was always felt like he was not desired by his mother. And because he felt he didn't fit in, and because he didn't feel loved, he was lost, his entire life. And he was always trying to seek out where he belonged, or, seek his own children who were taken from him. And then you have the other brother who found ways of gaining self-confidence. He was a little more self-motivated, but also his mother encouraged him and pushed him. So, it could be just that difference in how the parent raises a child. I don't know if you've seen families where the children were treated different. There could be a number of reasons for that. It could have been the nature of the parents' relationship at the time the child was born. Who knows?
Mhm.
But it's certainly true that, what you speak into a child from the time they are young visits upon them and can visit upon them for decades, possibly their entire life, unless they, get the help they need, whether it's through mentorship or therapy or whatever it is, to help work on that mindset and change their own mindset. Because you're not going to necessarily get that encouragement or get that bolstering from outside. So they need help getting it from themselves internally. So that's really the heart of the first book. And the second book, um, takes that to the next generation and how some of that plays out. But the one brother does manage, the brother that was had better self-esteem and encouragement, was able to turn that around and even enhance that with his children. So the hope is that each generation improves.
And you indicated that this is somewhat loosely or maybe not so loosely based on some family dynamics in your own family.
Yeah, very loosely. I had an uncle that lived out in the back of my grandmother's house, and we weren't really allowed to socialize with him. And what I recognize now as an adult is that there were signs of alcoholism, and as you can probably imagine, back in the 50s and 60s and earlier, families really didn't know how to deal with that. Many families didn't recognize what alcoholism was about.
Mhm.
So he was just kind of separated from us. And so I always wondered, what was his life like? I didn't personally know a lot about his background other than, he was my uncle. And we weren't allowed to interact with him. And he didn't come into my grandmother's house. He kind of stayed out there from what I saw. And, he took his meals out there separate from everyone. So, I kind of made up in my mind, okay, here you have a brother and sister leading two absolutely different lives. How could that ever happen? And that's where Lost Seeds came from.
Now, the copy that I have doesn't have the recognition on it, but the ones that you have behind you
Yeah.
have that. So tell us about the awards recognitions you've received. First for the
Well,
first book, The Beginning, and then for the
yeah.
legacy book.
Yeah, The Lost Seeds, the beginning, the first one won 7 awards. And so I always have to go down the list
Oh,
because no, I'm proud
congratulations.
of it, but I can never remember which ones they are. So it won the Bragg Medallion, the Feathered Quill Book Award, the IPPY Award. I forgot what IPPY stands for, Independent
Seen that.
Publishers,
Mhm.
something, a National Indie Excellence Award,
Okay.
Forward Indies Book Award of the Year, and it was a Eric Hoffer Award nominee. So that was the first one.
Okay.
So that's 7 for that one. And for the second book, it also won a Bragg Medallion, Feathered Quill book, and National Indie and Best Book Awards, Best American Book Awards, something like that. But they are all, very good, reputable awards, which I'm proud for the recognitions. So I'm just plugging away at the third one, which is left to be named. But the thing that I really like about it is that it's a book, well, it's a series that can resonate with anyone. If you have a family, it resonates because it's all about family relationships, and it's all about you know the generations, things that seem to languish over generations, and events that happen to challenge familial relationships, and how do you overcome those. I'm you hear that saying, blood is thicker than water.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I mean, and
Mm,
I sometimes question that,
maybe
because
it should be blood should be thicker than water.
exactly, it should be, but there are
Well, depending
times,
on the circumstance, though.
yeah,
That doesn't mean that you go along with family regardless of what they're doing. They could be
that's
doing wrong stuff.
Well,
exactly.
I mean, I don't know. I'm Teresa. I'm wondering, are you mean because there's some friends who treat you a lot better than family?
And that's where
Yes.
I was going. That's
Yeah.
exactly where I was going. My
Mhm.
saying is, because we share DNA does not entitle you to be disrespectful and treat me any way that you want, and feel that, then you could come around the next day and, think everything's okay and I should forgive you because, um, you know, it's all to me, in how you treat people and how you love upon people. Let's say, for example, you um, are an only child. You tend to make relationships with others that feel almost like family. When you're trying to expand um, your your relationships, and then there are people that have 10 siblings, and maybe only 2 or 3 of them are really, ones that you are your ride or die and you can call on, and you can have that concept of blood is thicker than water. So again, I really think that family is what you make it, and you can have the freedom to design what you really want family to look like for you.
Right. And you can adopt like things that your parents did. You can adopt the ones that you like the best. Let me put it like that. And then you can create your own that might be slightly different.
Yeah.
A lot of times the values though, that's what stays. Um,
Hmm.
and the structure. And then, as we get older, we realize just how much our parents, how wise they were, um, how much they sacrificed.
Hmm.
Um,
We
yeah,
don't realize that until we become parents, and we're
yeah,
like,
well,
"Dang,
that's what I'm saying. When we get
right."
older, that's when we recognize it. Well, and my daughter, I'm gonna be a grandmother soon for the first time. My only child is having a girl. And
Oh,
so,
wonderful.
yeah, she's gonna be due date is March 29th. And so I tell my daughter, I can't wait until you become a mom. So then you will know exactly what I did for you. Because you're gonna do the same thing for yours. And then they won't necessarily appreciate it at the time because they just take everything for granted.
Right.
Normally they appreciate it later, like we did. Like I didn't appreciate my parents when I was a teenager. And it, when you start to approach 30, that's when uh, that hits you.
Right.
They're getting older, and then you start going through some stuff and you realize life isn't the easy thing that you thought it was
Right.
you know
Well, and that's what in the second book, you will see that the two brothers, well, the oldest brother, the one that's doing well, really questions what are his responsibilities for his younger brother's life that has just gone off the rails. And actually,
Mhm.
some of the things that the younger brother is doing is having a negative impact on the other older brother's life. So it becomes, look, how much am I really responsible for this other adult who is making his own decisions, is impacting my life, but just because he's my brother, I'm supposed to have responsibility. I'm supposed to help him turn around. He has to be somewhat self-motivated. I can't do everything for him. So those are some of the things that play out in many families is
Yeah,
what responsibility do I have for this other family member when they clearly are an adult, can make up their own mind, and are making choices. They're making their own choices. So again, that those are the kind of things that I think resonate with many different readers, regardless of the community you come up in.
sometimes with siblings we can the ones who are responsible end up being the backup plan for those who aren't. And at
Woo!
some point you have to say, no, i'm
We're
not
there.
i'm not you're a parent. You have to deal with this. I have my own problem. I have my own things I have to work on. But and also siblings can be extremely different. Just because you have the same bloodline with even both parents, you can be completely different in personality from your other siblings. I mean, it could
Yep,
be. I know it. I know for me, that's the case in some circumstances with some siblings. I'll just say it
absolutely.
like that. It's
And the one thing you said actually takes place in the books, in both of them, where the younger brother, when his life kind of really goes off the rails, he ends up showing up at his older brother's house, and it's like, oh, here we go again, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Um, and and that's why the older brother, starts questioning what is this relationship? Why am I here responsible for you? You've messed up. Now I'm supposed to help you pick up the pieces. So it's But like I said, I'm very proud of these books. They've won awards, and I'm hoping that people really enjoy the third one as well.
Well,
Well,
it is on my
unfortunately,
to be read list.
yeah.
So, and
And
Rhonda is
unfortunately,
taking
we're
us out.
down to the last minute. So, can you tell us where we can reach out to you and where can we find your books?
Okay, so you can reach out to me on my website, through my website, teresamosleysebastian.com. And the books are available wherever books are sold, including Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and bookshop.org. So just ask and you shall find. You can even have their links to places to purchase them through the website. And please, share the books, talk about them, and look for the third one to come out in the fall.
Well,
Uh,
congratulations on the
yeah.
success of the books and all the awards. That's unusual to get that many.
That's amazing, actually. I love
Thank
that.
you.
And I did put your
Great.
website in the chat. So I hope everybody will click on the link, purchase the book, and leave a review.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Reviews really are important.
Right.
Okay, well, have a great night and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. I love you guys. Thank
Love you too.
Okay. Well,
When did we start? I wasn't sure when it started. I just rolled with it.
We started a little early, so but it's all good.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so did anyone win the books that we find? Did anyone?
No, nobody won the books.
Okay, so
nobody even attempted.
We will use them later on. And so our final guest was booked for the show that we had the technical difficulty where Zoom just cut us off. That was a few weeks ago. So we rebooked him for tonight, and he has a book about Black baseball. And his name is, he goes by Coach Mayden, or his name is Mike Mayden, and his book is called Game Changer.
Smile.
Yeah, Game Changer.
And I'm just looking mean.
So, Coach Mayden, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you very much.
And I like that shirt with Satchel Paige.
Satchel Paige on it.
Well, we got to represent the Negro League.
Come on.
Okay. So your book is, we see it behind you, and it's called Game Changer. It's a very nice cover. It's about Ruth Foster and the birth of Black baseball. So tell us, first of all, what made you interested in baseball as a topic?
Well, I've been involved with baseball over 40 plus years now. I coach high school, college baseball, and I scouted for 5 major league teams. So you can say baseball is in my blood. But more importantly, seeing African American baseball players playing baseball. And many generations, past and present, do not know about the legacy and the history of Negro League baseball. And more importantly, Ruth Foster, who was the founding father of Negro League baseball.
Okay. Well, I'm one of them. I knew about Negro League baseball, I guess in general, like generally, but I didn't know about Ruth Foster.
Well, I was about to say the same thing, Gwen, is I think a lot of us know about the Negro League, but we don't really know the history. We know some figures from the Negro League.
Yeah.
But it would be really good to really know the history and to really know how it got started, to really know some of the trailblazers, besides a Satchel Paige and oh my goodness.
Jackie Robinson was with the Negro League before he played for the Majors.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Josh Gibson, names like that. But just to really to do a deep dive into the history, I don't think a lot of people have that history. So I think this is about to be a really important conversation we're about to have.
Yeah, and more importantly, we want to reach back into the 1920s when Negro League Baseball started and bring it current to 2025 to educate a young generation of this 21st century. What is the history of blacks and baseball?
So who was Rube Foster?
Rube Foster was the father of Negro League Baseball. I mean, he grew up in Colbert, Texas, during the height of segregation and Jim Crow laws. And I mean, he had such great accomplishments. Number one, as a ball player. Number two, as a black man. And number two, a legacy that still lives on today that many don't know about. And that's what we have to do. We have to make sure we educate this generation to our history because our future is tied to our past.
Mm-hmm. So on the cover, he looks like a businessman. But back then, men dressed, women dressed.
They dressed like that to go to the store.
Yeah, they dressed for success. If you look at photos from that period when people were out and about, going somewhere, they could be going to church, or they could be going to a nightclub, or they could just be out and about. The men really were dressed.
Well, my friend William Frederick Cooper is in the comments dropping knowledge. He said Rube Foster created a pitch called the fadeaway, which is known as the curveball today.
Well, Satchel Paige gets the accolades, rightfully so, for being one of the greatest pitchers ever pitched. But Rube Foster holds some records for pitching that was just unheard of that we don't know about. And yeah, he had that pitch. He dominated. He had a streak where he formed Negro League teams that basically set baseball records for wins in the history of baseball that still stand today. I think 5 consecutive years he led his team to championships and won 4 out of the 5 years. He established himself. And let me just comment too. You mentioned that he looks like a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know that back in the 1920s and 30s, Negro League Baseball was the number 3 grossing economy in the black community. And back in the 1920s, I want you to vision this. Negro League Baseball grossed the average of $3 million a year. Today, that would be equivalent to $50 million for a black baseball league. That was unheard of.
Okay, yeah, your mind may not necessarily go to the business part of the Negro League, just the sports part, not the commerce part, we just don't know about the history like that. And tell people why there was a Negro League in the first place. So just take us back on that, why it was formed.
Well, Negro Leagues was formed because back in those days, what we call today Major League Baseball, the owners had a gentleman's agreement. They would not sign black players to play in Major League Baseball. So the Negro League players formed their own leagues. They did what was called barnstorming back in the days, where they went to different cities and played exhibition games. And they had what we call semi-pro games. And they got paid for it. But yet they were not allowed to play in the crown jewel of America, what we call America's pastime, Major League Baseball. So Rube Foster got together some owners, black owners. He came together in Kansas City, and he formed the Negro League Baseball in 1920. And from there to 1960, Negro League Baseball was a viable force for economics in baseball and in the United States. And let me say this as well. Back in those days, you had what was called the East-West All-Stars. Negro League Baseball was drawing crowds over 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people. Major League, what we call now Major League Baseball, was only drawing 10, 15,000 people to a game. So Major League Baseball, basically, we hear about Jackie Robinson and Branch Rickey going out and get Jackie Robinson to integrate baseball, but they don't really tell the true story. Branch Rickey saw the dollar signs that Negro League Baseball was making and the crowds that was coming, and he went in there and found a way to get that money. That's what it was all about back then.
Yeah, that whole economic piece. That's too much money left on the table,
Too much money.
And
black wealth. Black wealth. That's the key
right,
word.
black money. But it was over for a long period of time. Well, 40 years is a good amount of time for them to ignore it. And that means they were playing through the Great Depression.
They were playing through the Depression. They played through the racial segregation that they had to go through. They couldn't stay at the hotels. They couldn't eat at the restaurants. They had to travel on buses that they would spend money to gas buses up at the gas station, but they couldn't go in to eat. The players endured some real hardship as Negro League Baseball players, and we tried to embody all of those things: the baseball, the sports, the economics, and the life that they lived. We tried to embody that into the book. It's in a documentary form. What the ultimate vision is to make a documentary film to keep the legacy of Rube Foster alive and Negro League Baseball.
I think that would be awesome because, like I said, we only hear about a limited number of figures from the Negro League. But we don't. One person we don't hear about is Rube Foster.
We don't. That's my first time hearing his name, and I consider myself to be well read, and I am well read, but I don't know a lot about baseball. I just know the little snippets I hear every now and then, here and there, but I never had put it all together. And that's what you've done in your book. Now, how much were the payers paid back then?
Talking with some former Negro League players, they were paid about $30-$40 a month, which they paid. They got $2 for meal money if they got that. And it was a tough role for them, but I mean, most of the players played because they had a love and a passion for the game. And, it was a brotherhood among the players. I mean, again, we know what Jackie Robinson went through. So just imagine what the Negro League players went through and what they was called. We know the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was vicious. It was unbelievable what Negro League players had to go through just to pave the way for African American baseball players to have the opportunity to play in Major League Baseball now. And the sad part about it is many of the ball players now that's playing in the Major League don't know about the history of Negro League Baseball. Most of them would not even be there today if it was not for Negro League Baseball, Rube Foster, and the vision that he had. And more importantly, when you're taking these players today, if it was not for Rube Foster and the vision that he had, Major League Baseball would probably not be in existence because Negro League Baseball folded because of the integration of the Negro League players in the Major League Baseball. But at the same time, if we had the vision today that back then, we were drawing 30, 40, 50,000 people to a game. We could have been what Major League Baseball is today, the multi-billion-dollar corporation, and Major League Baseball would be out of business now. But what Major League Baseball did, just as they did in slavery, they stole our ideas, they took it, they cultivated, and they turned it into a billion-dollar industry. Now they're phasing black players out the game. We're less than 6% of the players in Major League Baseball were at our highest peak from Jackie Robinson to the mid-70s. We were as high as 18 to 22% of the players. Now we're being phased out of the game because our dollars mean nothing to them because they're going after the international dollar.
Well, and sadly, I feel like that's by design. If you look at the history of the NBA, at one time, white people had actually stopped going to the basketball games because they felt that the NBA was getting too black. So the NFL is getting too black. The NBA is getting too black. So the MLB is one of those sports that they feel that they can preserve. Um, we, that's one of the ones that we can keep for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey. Black hockey players catch hell.
Mm-hmm.
People hate black hockey players. If you've seen some of the black hockey players when they go out there, the fans throw things at them. They boo them sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like to see them. So I can kind of see why we don't see more black people playing baseball. I mean, if you look at Neon Dion when he was playing baseball, they did not like him playing baseball and football. You are not about to be amazing in two different sports at the same time. How dare you?
Somebody else did it too. There was another athlete that played baseball and football.
Yeah, Bo.
Bo
Jackson. Yeah, Bo Jackson. Yeah. So, that's tough anyway as an athlete to be playing year round like that. And some parts of the year it crosses because the baseball season extends to October and football starts in August. So it would be difficult to do just from an athletic standpoint. But I did have another
unfortunately question. There are enough black people that they don't have to play both sports.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying for those two, that would be hard. It couldn't last that long. It's just that's a lot of athletics.
Yeah, there's some more good history in the comments.
It is. I was just reading it.
Yeah, says she was honored to know Mr. John Evans in Georgia, who was a player on the +5. The Indianapolis Clowns were a legendary barnstorming baseball team in the Negro League, and he became the first black commissioner in DeKalb County, and ultimately the long-time president.
Long time.
Oh, long time. Okay. The long-time president is the DeKalb. The DeKalb NAACP branch president. The president of the DeKalb NAACP branch. I think that's what she was saying. And then Phyllis Dixon asked the question I would love to hear your answer to. She asked, how can we encourage young people to play baseball?
Well, I think more importantly, they have to see an opportunity. I mean, as I tell people, being in the game 40 plus years, having scouted and coached, black players are not seeing black players play in big numbers on a major league team. And my personal opinion, partly that's by design, but at the same time, my experience having coached high school baseball in the Chicago Public League, if a black player doesn't go to a predominantly all black high school, he's not going to play on that high school team. He's not going to make the team. Look at Michael Jordan. He got cut from his high school team. If he's not on his high school team, he can't be recruited to play college ball. And the dirty little secret that Major League Baseball will not touch publicly is the high school and the college is the recruiting ground for which they draft players from. So if they're not seeing the black players on the high school level or the collegiate level, they don't have a pool of ball players to draft from. So they use the excuse that the black players are underdeveloped, they raw, they 2 to 3 years behind the polished ball players, so we don't draft them. But what we have to do is we have to get our own leagues. We have to have our own summer leagues, our own travel ball leagues. We have to either have our own independent league where we develop ball players, get them ready for the major leagues, and then do just like they do with the overseas leagues. Take these ball players, identify you 10, 20 top ball players, blue chips that can be the next Hall of Famers, the next All-Stars in the major leagues. Take them to Major League Baseball doorstep, say, here's 20 qualified baseball players that can play in the big leagues, sign them, or we go raise hell. We're not giving players the opportunity, and they cry. You ask most players and major league players, especially black, why do we not have, of course, more black players playing? They say because baseball is too expensive and they're being priced out of the game. Kids can't afford trouble. There are black parents out there that have money, but their kids don't have the opportunity to play in competitive leagues and develop their skills. And if they
Coach,
wind up playing,
do you remember that team that played in I don't remember the name of the World Series, the Children's World Series.
The Little League World Series.
The Little League World Series, yes. And it was a black team. They went all the way to the championship, and they were so good.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they were good, it's like the world started working against them and tried to do everything they could to discredit them and tried to take away their accolades by saying that the coach cheated by recruiting kids who were outside of the district and tried to take away their championship.
I remember that well. Jackie Robinson West. Actually, the team plays exactly a half a mile from my house. So I knew most of the players, and I knew the coaches.
Yeah, they were from Chicago. You're right.
Exactly. Some of the coaches that coached the team, I actually coached when they was playing baseball as little kids, or shorties, as we call them in the hood. I actually coached them. But, again, 2 points. I tell people, Jackie Robinson West, they captured the hearts of the nation. Not only the black community, but the nation, because you saw this all-black team, never before seen in our time, playing on a national stage. Yes. And they was good and they won. Mm-hmm. And I tell people my experience as a coach. They've been playing all these years. Jackie Robinson been around for years in Chicago. Matter of fact, everybody knows the Jackie Robinson, Joe Haley and Jackie Robinson West in Chicago. They've been playing all these years. But they finally made it to the national stage, and people realize you see Japan and China and Taiwan and all them in the Little League World Series. You never see an all-black team. This was the first time. This is what excited the world. This is what I'm saying now. They're black kids playing baseball, but they're not given the opportunity, they're not given the exposure. So consequently, you're not seeing them in the college level. And even your HBCs that used to be for black ball players, now they non-African American players are getting scholarships to go to HBCs as white and Hispanic players.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they've taken over the HBCU,
and she told me that a lot of the white students are athletes on baseball and golf and tennis.
And they're getting scholarships.
Yes, they're getting scholarships. I forgot that.
As minorities.
Yeah, well, they are a minority at HBCU.
Well, that's my point.
Everybody
know how to beat our system.
It's a strange world we live in. Okay, William Frederick Cooper said, have the inner city children lost interest in baseball because it's easier to excel in football and basketball?
No, again, that's the myth that's being put out there, that kids are not playing, the inner city kids are not playing. First of all, there's a decline of baseball all over the United States in all communities, white communities, Hispanic. Baseball is on a decline as a whole.
Okay.
Black kids have always played football, basketball, and baseball, and some of them play multiple sports, as you just mentioned, Bo Jackson. Mm-hmm. They play multiple sports. So, no, kids are still playing baseball. They're just not given the recognition. And the high-profile kids, the kids that would be considered prospects, again, they can't play on teams because in order to play on the where they go get disposed, they got to play on the white teams. And if you look at the white teams, at most you got one or two black players on the team, and usually they the designated pinch runner or they the pitcher that come in. But they can't get in the lineup. They not go have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 black players on a white team. So they're not getting the opportunity. They're still playing baseball. Yeah, the number has declined, but kids are still playing baseball and they're still hungry. They're still chasing that dream that they want to play in the big leagues one day. But they got to have that opportunity.
Yeah, my brothers both played Little League. We used to go to the games. So that was back in the day. But they both played baseball. And, in your neighborhood, that's what you did a lot of, playing baseball. Even the girls played too.
Yeah, we had some girls back in the day. You was a little tomboy, huh?
Well, yeah, I was actually.
There was a girl picture on Jackie Robinson West, so let's not get it twisted now.
She wasn't on the West, but yeah, I forget her name, but yes, she did. She played in the Little
Yeah,
League World
didn't she wind up joining the Harlem Globetrotters?
Yeah, I did see that a
Okay.
little while back.
Oh, okay.
So, how would you make people more aware, or does the media play a role? Like, we don't really see baseball players in our media either, like magazines or anything. You rarely see them. It's more, I guess, because we dominate basketball and football so much. That's where the attention is. But how can baseball get more attention? Well, your book is going to do a lot to help that effort. But
Yeah,
we rarely see literature about this topic.
Well, I mean, the desire and the appetite is out there. We have to create the venue. Just like Ruth Foster had the vision to go out when blacks were denied the opportunity to play in major. He had the vision to form their own league. They say we need travel ball is taking over the game in a lot of ways, and it's costing kids a lot of money. But again, you got a lot of black kids that's not getting an opportunity to play in high profile settings. We need to have summer leagues where these kids can come together and play baseball. And I'm talking about the top of the line, not just a baseball player. I'm talking about the blue chippers, where they can come just like you got the McDonald Classic, where these guys come together and they play and showcase themselves. We need a league, a summer league, where these guys can come together and showcase themselves. Then we need an independent league, which is equivalent to a professional baseball league, a minor league schedule, where we can bring these guys together. We tried to do it 40 days, 40 games in 40 days. We tried to get it going a few years ago, but you got to have the support. You got to have the financial support to keep it going. And see, this is what black people have to understand. We have to pool our dollars together, not talk about what we need to do, but we need to have the financial resources to make it happen. I mean, I can put together 10 teams that will have the top ball players from all over the country, black ball players, and again, put them before the major league teams and force major league. There was a big cry about 10 years ago when they start the media. Again, media plays a big part in it too, what it's supposed to get. But they start to make noise about the decline of African American baseball players in Major League Baseball. And Major League Baseball went out and studied and did a commission on how we were going to improve that. And I even sent something to Major League Baseball, and Dombrowski at that time, who was heading it up, I think he's with the Tigers now. But I sent he's vice president, I think, with the Tigers, or he might be with the Diamondbacks now. But I sent him a letter defining how it can be done. And he acknowledged, I saw him one day at one of the games, and he acknowledged that he had received it, and he had passed it on to the person that was handling it. But they came up with a plan where they came up with these diversity programs and minority programs in the inner cities. And what they're doing now is they got some former major league players that go out for a weekend and run a clinic, give black kids some baseball gloves and baseball bats. Now, anybody been in baseball know that's a great PR move. But for you to get tutorage on how to play baseball for 2 days, not going to make you a better ball player. You need constant teaching, development, this and that, because the reason why the game is being taken over by these Latin and third world country players is because Major League Baseball has invested baseball academies in those third world countries, in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and these countries. They have year-round baseball academies, not a 2-day clip where Major League Baseball players go around and do a clinic, get black players, a bat in the glove in the inner city, and say, we got these urban initiatives to get these ball players, and then we go have a college league for the HBC players, but they're not drafting them. Baseball and sports is driven by data and statistics. And I challenge them, check all the data and statistics. Since they started these urban initiative programs, it have not increased one black player making it to the major leagues. It have not. These are showcases they do. because they're not interested. They're not interested in black players playing in Major League Baseball because I tell people, and again, my experience, I tell people, look in the stands. You can count us on one hand that's in the stands. So we have no value to them. It's all about the dollars.
Yeah, economics normally does drive everything. And also, the creation of a commission is a classic politician's dodge. Generally, when they create a commission, they're not going to do anything. It's all for PR. Just you heard it here from me. Anyway,
just wait. My piece of it. What we as a people also need to do, we need to take responsibility as well. Going by what Coach just said, we need to stop saying these words. Black people don't. If we stop saying those 3 words and start supporting our Black people when they're doing things that are not traditionally Black sports, like supporting our Black baseball players, supporting our Black gymnasts, supporting our Black bobsled athletes, whatever it is, just supporting Black athletes in general, and start going to these games and start supporting these games and start showing that Black dollars count in these capacities as well, then we can probably get a lot more support in those areas as well. That's just my piece of it.
Well, it takes leaders to do that too, because people need to have something to sow into. So we're at the end of our time, end of the show. So can you let people know how they can connect with you, Coach Mayden, and buy your book?
Well, they can go on our website at feoa.info. That's for Future Entrepreneurs of America, feoa.info.
Okay.
Or you can go on Amazon and just Google Game Changer, Blue Foster, and Black Baseball. And it'll come up. Get that book, keep us rolling, and we'll be more than happy to come back another time and share more information.
Well, keep us informed. And if you have a GoFundMe or something like that, where you can have a project where people can sow into it, then let us know and we'll have you come back to talk about it.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, have a great night.
You too. Goodbye.
Okay, well, Rhonda, you knew more about baseball than I thought. And that was great that you could interject some things that's the benefit of having 2 people host a show. Somebody can always bring something to the table. And it's not all on one. So anyway, we're done for tonight and we're signing off. I'm Gwen Richardson. We'll see you next Tuesday.
I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.